You might want to record this.
Hello, telly lovers. Welcome to this new channel where we're going to talk about all things British television. I'm chuffed to have you here, and with the end of 2022 approaching, I have a lot to say about my favorite British series of the year. So follow along and look out for all the fun videos to come. Now, pour yourself a cuppa and let's jump right into my first review. Today, I'm going to talk about The Devil's Hour. I am excited to review this because it's kind of an interesting departure from the typical British crime drama. It has some sci-fi elements that I think are a little unusual compared to the norm. If you haven't seen it already, The Devil's Hour is currently streaming on Amazon Video. It's free for Prime members in the US. It stars Peter Capaldi of Doctor Who fame and Jessica Raine, who you'll recognize from Call the Midwife and Fortitude.
I know you feel out of place, like your life isn't your own.
You don't know me.
It's a 6-part series that tells the story of Lucy, a social services supervisor and mother of a young boy, Isaac. Lucy desperately brings Isaac from one psychiatrist to another to figure out why he's so odd. He sees things that aren't there, he repeats what other people say, and he's really flat and robotic when it comes to emotional expression. In other words, he's a pretty disturbed and pretty creepy kid. Lucy herself has a history of strange experiences dating back to her childhood, and ever since she can remember, she's woken up every night at 3:33 a.m. following a nightmare. In fact, the title of the series is a reference to the idea of the witching hour, where it's said that there's more paranormal activity occurring between 3 to 4 a.m. or thereabouts. She has visions which are incoherent and sometimes misleading, and she really struggles to make sense of these through the first several episodes. In the first few episodes, we see Lucy and Isaac's life and their complicated relationship with Isaac's dad, played by Phil Dunster. There are odd experiences that Lucy is having, and they coalesce and seem to happen in real life, which ultimately results in her making the acquaintance of the local police. Most notably, she meets D.I. Dillon, who's played by Nikesh Patel, and with whom Lucy shares kind of an eerie deja vu and pretty strong chemistry. In the last couple of episodes of the series, Lucy and D.I. Dillon come head-to-head with Gideon, Capaldi's character, and at the end, the truth about Lucy and Isaac and Gideon and what makes them so different is revealed. Before we get into spoilers, let me give you my overall rating for this show. Overall, I would say I would rate this about 4 out of 5 stars. The show came out around Halloween, and when I was watching it, I definitely jumped out of my skin during a few scenes. It's very well shot, and there are lots of very vivid, beautifully done scenes. It's very dark and atmospheric, and even in the scenes that occur in broad daylight, there's kind of a gloom or an eeriness that I thought were really captivating. As always, I don't have anything negative to say really about the actors in this series. Jessica Raine, who is a super strong actress, but usually strikes me as kind of a more prim and proper persona. Here, I initially almost felt like she was almost too pretty for this role, but she was a very convincing Lucy. And I gotta say, I'm really a believer. I can feel her complex emotions about Isaac and her love for him, but also that she's that sense that she's a little afraid of him and her desperation to get through to him and figure out what's wrong, why she can't seem to reach him. Capaldi, as always, was masterful. When he's on screen, he just has this imposing presence, and you just don't need anything else in the frame aside from him, and he's just magnificent. The supporting cast was solid too. Benjamin Chivers was perfect as Isaac. He's simultaneously has a way of creeping you out, but also you just feel really sympathetic for him. My heart broke for him so many times throughout the series, especially when he is in scenes with his father and how his father just doesn't really get him. Nikesh Patel and Alex Ferns were really well cast as the cops, and Mira Sayal, as always, is her usual polished and poised self and was a great addition to the cast. If you haven't seen the show yet, you might want to tune out a little bit here because I am going to talk about the ending of the show. We learn a lot in episode 6, which is where the storyline is really finally kind of explained, and I'm going to put that in air quotes for a moment. Up to this point, there's not a lot of explanation. There's a lot of setting up, and here's where I think that The Devil's Hour really struggles. The pacing for the show, I found, was a little bit off. There's a lot of setup, a lot of background, a lot of pieces that are going to fit together, but really don't come together till the very, very end. I'm talking like the second half of the last episode. It turns out what we're seeing here is like kind of a dark version of Groundhog Day with multiple relivings of the same life. Gideon, for example, learned in his life that his father would kill him and his brother, so he relives his life multiple times to beat his father to it. We learn that Gideon intervened in Lucy's mother's suicide attempt, leaving Lucy to live, but affecting both Lucy and her mother. This is why they both have this recurring sense of deja vu. And they have memories of different timelines that don't really make sense, that don't fit together. So plot-wise, underlying all of this is this idea that you can relive your life to multiple times to avoid a traumatic event from occurring. But that has a side effect. That means that you then have memories of different timelines, different relivings that will affect you and not make much sense. I think the overall moral is made in the last couple of scenes where Isaac finally tells his mother he loves her, and she sacrifices her life as a demonstration of her love for him. My hunch is that when this happened, it released them from the loop, which is when the timeline switches over to Lucy as a DI, and there's no sign of Isaac anywhere in this timeline. It's sad, though, because this bond that they have is specific only to this really terrible timeline, the main timeline that we're seeing in the show, and not the happy one that Gideon seems to be propelling Lucy toward. I did really love the portrayal of Lucy and Isaac's relationship in this timeline, though. You can see that even though Lucy is frustrated and baffled by Isaac, sometimes even a little unnerved or scared of him, she's also singularly committed to him and willing to go to the ends of the earth for him, even if it means the end of her marriage. It's also heartbreaking to see how Isaac's dad just does not share that bond at all. He's just dismissive and disconnected, and has really essentially given up on Isaac, and that's pretty heartbreaking to see. My biggest problem with the series is the conclusion. Yeah, I mean, I get that this is a multiverse time travel story with lots of intentional twists and turns, and of course this means we're meant to be kind of scratching our heads at the end. But the ending could have used a lot of neatening up. My biggest issue is the explanation about Isaac. Since he's really the story's main character, it doesn't explain why Isaac is a quote-unquote husk, as Gideon called him. Why is he not supposed to be here? Why is he still not displaying any emotions? If that's the case, why does Gideon go to great lengths to watch him and possibly protect him? Is it because he was saved that he exhibits the same disturbances as Lucy and her mother? Was he safe from his dad with the fire? There's just too many unanswered questions, considering that the relationship between Lucy and Isaac is so crucial to the entire series. There are some other unclosed loops in the story, like whether the neighbors are part of the current timeline, and what exactly Gideon meant when he said he waited 25 years in prison for Lucy. And of course, we don't know what happens to Gideon at the end when he escapes custody. I wonder if the writers are setting up for a possible season 2. Either way, I think those threads should really have been resolved here. It made for a less than satisfying ending. But I'm looking forward to hearing that we will get another season to see Isaac survive the fire, for Mike to get kicked to the curb, and Lucy and Ravi to get married. Wait, do happy endings even exist in time travel? I don't know. Overall, I do think The Devil's Hour is worth a watch when you're in the mood for something dark to see or to puzzle over. Maybe watch with someone for some conversation afterwards to tease apart the different timelines. As I said earlier, it's just one of those unique shows within the British TV space, and I think that alone makes it worth your time. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my recap and review of The Devil's Hour. What did you think of this series, and would you recommend it to others? I can't wait to hear your thoughts about it. Drop a line in the comments below and tell me what you thought. And if you enjoyed this video, do take a moment to hit like on this video and to subscribe to my channel so that you'll be ready for more smashing new videos about all things British TV. Thanks a million and see you next time. Ta for now.